Okay, now underneath the alternator, you might be able to film it right down there. There's a bolt, and that bolt keeps the alternator in place, and the top nut there is the adjuster. That's how you adjust the tension on the belt. So I'll go underneath the car and get that bottom bolt out, and the alternator will come off. This is looking underneath, and the bolt runs right along from one side to the other underneath the alternator. You can probably see there the spanner there, and you may not be able to see this side, but got a spanner running up to the other side, and you just got to remove that bolt. Okay, the bottom bolt's loose, and I'll now be able to move the alternator back and forth. You need to take the slack, or make the belt slack. The reason for that is the bolt right down there won't come out if the belt's tight. I've had to jack my car up. I'm using a threaded jack, not a hydraulic jack, and I've got the wheels chocked. Got to try and keep the washer on the bolt. Surprisingly, there is no washer on the front of the bolt there. Okay, at this point the alternator is just hanging there with the bolt, with the adjustable bolt on the top there. So I'll remove it now. Okay, get the belt off. So yeah, at this point it's free. You can see there it'll move, but I don't know how I'm going to get it out, because it won't fit through here, and it's probably not going to fit through here. I'd say I've got to remove this bracket. Okay, let's give it a try. I don't want to drop it, because this is my spare. It is still working, but it's very old and it's a bit suspect, so I'll try and get it out of the bottom bracket. It's not coming out yet. Okay, at the moment the alternator's free, and I think I'll be able to get it up through this gap here eventually. So yeah, I've got to remove this bracket, so I've got this nut here and this nut undone, and that'll allow me to get the alternator out. Yeah, so that's the deal there. You got to get this, undo this bracket, and just get it back out of the way, and then the alternator will come up through there. So I'll put the new one on now. So the hardest thing about installing or putting on an alternator or generator or whatever you want to call it is this bit here. That bit there is machined. The thickness is machined exactly. So when this sits in the frame, this is the lower part, and this is the adjustable higher part. You have to line it up so that these holes line up with the frame holes, so that this can pass through. That's your tightening, main tightening bolt. Okay, so that's the frame, the mounting plate for the alternator, and that attaches to the engine, and it's in between there that we've got to sit that lower part of the alternator. So what I'll do is I'll put a bit of oil on the inside of that bracket just to make it easier for that alternator to fit in. Okay, so unfortunately at this point I noticed that this here, the gap is much thinner than this gap here. So this is a reason why you want to do this sort of work when you're not working or on holidays, because these unexpected things do happen. So that the belt's not actually going to fit in that. The chances are at this stage is that what I have to do is put this back on, possibly. Yeah, I think I've got a failed product here. I bought this on eBay, and I'll give you the name of the seller and the website I bought it from. That's the flywheel there, and I'd say that that'd be the new one would be about 3 to 4 millimeters thinner. It's just not wide enough. So they're lined up on the inside. You can see that the new one's a good deal thinner. It's just not good enough. Okay, the edge of the flywheel furthest away from the camera is lined up, and you can see the difference in the width, and this is going to be returned. Another thing I'd like to point out is with the old one, the standard one, the flywheel edge there, the start of it, is fairly close to the alternator, and this one's a fair way out. You can see about a 4 or 5 mil thickness there, how far it sits out from the alternator. The belt area, and here it starts straight away with the belt area. Okay, that's it there. Nationwide radiator auto parts, costs $231. Okay, the situation is this is the only alternator to be sold anywhere practically in the world on eBay, on ebay.com.au and ebay.com. So it doesn't matter who you buy it from. There's one other seller. There's none of these in the States. There's another seller here, and it's got the same pulley on it. So I'm going to try and install this and just see if the belt lines up. If the belt sits in this crevice here enough, then we'll call it a successful unit. Okay, so on with the show. So that bracket there is what we're aiming for. You may be able to see just here, there's a big gap. I can get the screwdriver edge right down in there, and this is supposed to be tight, and yeah, it's about 3 millimeter gap there. I'm going to have to use a washer to pack it out. And you can probably see the amount of movement there. Okay, I've got a mock-up of the installed alternator. The belt does sit does sit proud of the or out of the pulley by a fair margin. I'd say again 3 mil. When I look on this angle, I can see that the belt does seem to be reasonably straight. So at this point, I'm going to call this a successful purchase, and I think over the long term it should work out. I've just got to get that spacer down there, and I think it might be a goer. Okay, this belt's really out of alignment. If you line up with your eye, this one here and the bottom one down there. When I line that up, I can see that the belt is out. It runs inwards, in toward this way. So I'll just try and do that now. Don't know if that's going to show up, but the belt's running inward. A correction to the previous couple of clips. That isn't actually a gap behind there. There's a sort of a rounded edge that meets the frame of the alternator. So when I tighten up this bolt, I suspect that this will be fairly well held in place. So yeah, that is to say, I didn't need any sort of shim or spacer to go in there. That's got a rounded type of shim as it is. So that's good. However, the belt is out of alignment. What I do to get the belt tight is I leave the bottom bolt undone. I tighten up this nut until it's just snug, and I get a soft hammer and a piece of pine wood, and I just sort of rest it on top there, just where the bolt is, and I'll give it a tap, and I'll get the nut so that it's tight enough so that it'll go, that it'll tighten, but it won't spring back. Okay, so my estimation is this is 1 mil at the actual the thing that the belt sits in here. At that point it's 1 mil too far this way, so that multiplies out this way, but at the actual slot there, the groove, the gap is about 1 mil. Okay, just connect up the electrical. I'll just get this bracket sitting back down in place. Okay. As you can see, I'm not placing too much pressure. I'm just tightening up until it's snug. Okay, I can't say it's really confidence inspiring. It is a bit of a loose fit at the bottom bracket. This adjustment nut here is a bit hard to get in on this adjusting fork here. The belt is out of alignment. Amazingly, probably the best thing about this alternator is the connectors here at the back. They line up seamlessly. They're absolutely perfectly the same as stock standard. And as I say, this pulley here is definitely the wrong one. The belt should sit in further toward the alternator. Okay, so having said that, let's see how she performs. Okay, I've got my voltmeter, and I don't know if that's going to show up or not, but I'm on 12 volts. So I'll start her up. And now we're on about 13, which is how the previous one was. We'll increase the revs. Bit of a new, I noticed a new noise. Sounds like a fan noise. Okay, so never ever put your hand in around the fan, because you'll have your hand severely damaged. I just feel the tension on the belt. The belt's very tight still. Okay, I'm going to call this a success. On the standard alternator, the information is on the top regulator build, IN, the number 8941566721. That's an IG, 12 volt. It's got 100211, and then the numbers 2231. ND Denso, made in Japan, 6020. On the back it's got ND with 43 just there. It doesn't say how many watts. Doesn't say how many watts the generator produces. The new alternator is A-1422, serial number 619666A. Then it's got MFG number 1416. I don't think this alternator is used in the USA or America. The reason I replaced this alternator is, I'll just try and zoom that in. Okay, there's different light this time. What happened once was that I was cruising along, and the volts dropped down to 12 volts, and when I put on the accelerator there was no response, which meant that the alternator wasn't working. My first impressions, the first thing I see is that when I start the motor up, it goes straight up to 14, which could be a healthy sign. It seemed to go up to 14 and a little bit past 14, say 14.2, and stayed there. So I think that's a really healthy sign. So the old alternator will go back, or go in the box that the new one came from, and it still works. May not be perfect, but that'll be a spare. So all good. Okay, so I'm going to pack up. and have a cup of coffee, and I'll come back in about 3 months, and I'll let any viewers watching this video know how the alternator went. Okay, we're about 3 or 4 months into the future. This alternator has been performing perfectly, and I'm very happy. When I check the belt to the alternator, it's still firm. There's been no change in the tension. I was a bit worried about the belt, how it fitted into the drive there, but you know, that's running perfectly. What we'll do is just start the engine up and have a look at the electrical gauges. So yeah, we can see there, maybe, I don't know if it's going to show up on film, but we're at 14 volts, and it looks like the charge is working on this other gauge as well. That's the battery, and that's the alternator. So yeah, a very big success, and I can recommend that alternator or generator or whatever you want to call it.